Good evening, everybody. I welcome you on Anatol's YouTube channel. In this video, I want to share with you my perception of the full-scale war that Russia started in February 2022, and it goes for almost 10 months. We are in December 2022 right now. On the evening of February 23, 2022, my thoughts were only about having a rest. It was a quite ordinary evening. When I have rested well, the next day I feel safer at work. The work of a teacher requires concentration to better explain the theory. This is particularly important when you have 5 or 7 French lessons in one day with children from 10 to 17 years old. I didn't worry about anything when I went to bed. On Thursday, the next day, I woke up around 5 a.m. because of explosions outside my window. It was still dark because it was February 24, and in winter the nights are long. I moved closer to the window and looked at the street. It was an unusual picture. The whole street was occupied by cars, and everyone was driving only in the direction out of the city. I figured it wasn't Saturday yet when people were leaving town in the morning to avoid the traffic. Something extraordinary was happening. It was clear to me. A lot of cars behind the window looked like footage from a disaster movie. I started to worry because everyone was going somewhere and I didn't know whether it was better to go somewhere or to stay. This feeling of concern was reinforced by the sounds of military planes that began to fly over Kyiv. I connected to Wi-Fi and read the most recent news. I learned that the explosions were ballistic missiles. In the school group of social network, we were told that neither the pupils nor the teachers should go to school that day. The class teachers should have warned the children's parents about this. The students, their parents, and the teachers all stayed at home. That day, few people even wanted to take lessons via video conferencing. There was an incomprehensible hope that everything would end very soon, that such horror cannot last long. Standing by the dark window in the early morning on February 24, I felt like a person in an elevator without light. Your elevator is in the basement, on the lowest floor of the house. It is dark and there is no light. And suddenly, under your feet, a chasm appears, and your elevator starts to fly down. It was a flight down. This morning has remained for me as a single dark day. This terrible moment bothered me for almost 2 months. Then I started to distinguish between artillery and anti-aircraft explosions. After a while, I still remember the explosions on the night of the start of the war. I began to understand that the explosions of the first night of the war were the work of the air defense. A little later, there were artillery explosions near the city. These sounds are more frequent. You can understand where they come from. I want to tell you that the war is frightening you at the very beginning, because in the beginning someone still lives an ordinary life, and the others have to go and defend your city and your country. A few months later, one way or another, a large number of people are involved in the war. The whole country is at war. It's not so scary anymore, because it's not you alone who risks everything in your life, but everyone around you is in the same situation. Ordinary residents like me know nothing about the course of the war at the front. It's a military secret. Even a place where there is at least one military, that's a secret. We learn what is happening in the news, like everyone else in the world. As for the psychological state of people, some is used to it, to the war. Someone pretends to have adopted, and someone does not hide their nervousness. Nervousness manifests itself in the fact that in times of peace, a small problem would not seem unsurmountable, but now even a small problem can irritate those whose life have been significantly changed by war. At the start of the war, you could see people, women, walking down the street and crying. Also, among my neighbors were people who had positioned themselves as stronger than me and tried to teach me about life. I saw these people cry for the first time. And what's hard to understand and bear, it's not the material losses, it's not the destruction. The hardest to understand is that we have been taught that we are all wise men on the planet, Homo sapiens in Latin. Well, in 2022, Homo sapiens wiped out the schools in eastern Ukraine, and now we have internally displaced persons. In my class in Kyiv, I have a student from eastern Ukraine. His school was completely destroyed in a small village in Donbass. Airborne alarms continue. Maybe you are watching this video when I am already injured or dead.